And a very good afternoon and welcome to the Saturday preview with myself, Dave Massey. No punt this week. Won't be part of the daily punt. I'm on a bit of a holiday this week. I just got back from Yarmouth last night after 3 days there. First 2 days punting. Basically broke level over the 2 days. Did well on the Tuesday, and then when all the favourites went in on the Wednesday, gave it all back. As you know, when favourites win, I don't. Basically. So I did all right on the Tuesday, Wednesday not so good. And then I was working for my good friend Rob Speechley on the Thursday. So at least I came away with some money in my pocket, which I didn't think after the Wednesday, as I say. I sort of gave quite a bit back. It was not a pleasant day. 6 out of 7 favourites, and they were carrying some of the bookmakers out on stretches at the end of the day. Anyway, none of that matters now. Air, Silver and Gold Cup tomorrow, which are the 2 races I'm looking at. And there's one at Newmarket that I'm moderately interested in. I'll let you know about it. Whether it'll be a bet or not will depend on whether we get the dead 8 runners that there are at the moment lining up. Because I've got a feeling it'll be a decent each way price. But if only 7 run, obviously it's of less interest. But anyway, Air, Silver and Gold Cup, as I say, the sort of 2 main features tomorrow. As ever, there's going to be extra places galore on offer. I would guess Hills sponsoring it will want to be top or near the top of the extra place market. I know they've done sort of 7 and 8 places before. Sky Bet already up 6 and 7 places with them. 6 for the silver, 7 for the gold. It's just, you know, these Saturday handicaps, these big handicaps, if you can sort of narrow them down to, you know, 6 or 7 runners, then you shouldn't really be doing a lot of damage on them. And I'll be playing 2 in each race and some each way doubles the pair as well. I've been watched Air for a couple of days. I'm not detecting any great bias as yet. I've just watched the nursery before I started doing this, and the winner came right down the middle there, so I'm not. And there was one up the near side that tried to make all, and there was one up the far side. I don't particularly think there's any, as I can see, any massive advantages yet. We'll start with the Silver Cup then. This is at 240. An interesting contest, as you might expect. The horse that's got 3 1s next to its name is going to probably go off the rank outside of the field, weirdly. Old Major Valentine, who's been making hay at his beloved Chepstow, but he looks way too high in the handicap now, and he's away from Chepstow. So as much as he's 111 next to his name, I think he's going to find life a bit tougher. What you used to do for these sort of races at these end of season big handicaps would just get knotted in on your slip each way, and you generally collect something. Form this season for Get Not has been a little bit in and out. He's on a fair enough mark, but I think there are better options in the race. The 2 that I've narrowed it down to, I think Musica is the first one. I put Musica up earlier on in the season at Ripon. For the Great St Wilfrid, and ran the sort of race that I thought he'd run that day. Finished 4th, grabbed the far rail, tried to make all, just done late on. Might be a similar sort of situation here, but I'm sort of looking where pace is coming from. There's a bit of pace, but I think of those drawn sort of middle to high, I can see Musica again leading them out. And I, for whatever reason, didn't quite see it out at Doncaster in the Portland last week. Finished midfield. It wasn't a dreadful effort, but, you know, in retrospect, where he was at halfway, you thought he might finish a little bit closer up. It could just be that, you know, at the end of a long season, he's starting to feel it a little bit now. But the fact that his air record is really good. He's run here 3 times and has twice been a winner, and wasn't a million miles away in the other one, ran respectably in the other one as well. He's got all those in his favour. I think the ground will be absolutely fine for him tomorrow. And as I say, on his early season form, you know, he is hard to win with. Of that, there's no doubt. But equally, you know, we're getting big double figure prices here. He's 25 to 1, and as I say, for a horse that I think will lead the sort of middle group, as it were, that sort of middle to high group. There's him and there is Major Valentine, but as I say, I think Major Valentine's just a bit outclassed tomorrow. So I think Musica is going to pretty much have it his own way up front. And if you can put that Doncaster effort behind him, then and return to the sort of summer form that he was showing, 92. We know what you're getting. He's the top end of his mark. but he is more likely to run his race than a few of them here at a track he likes. So I thought he was interesting. He's not my first pick though. My first pick for the race is actually a whopping price. It's a 33 to 1 chance for this. And the one I like is Presidential, Roger Fells. The more I look at this horse, the more I think 33 to 1 for him, again, getting 6 places with Sky Bet, is massively overpriced. We know Presidential better these days as a 7 furlong horse than a 6 furlong horse. Tends to do most of his racing over 7. But what he is, he's generally pretty consistent. He handles most ground. Some of his better form this year has been on soft, but don't let that sort of put you off the fact that last season he was quite able on good and good to firm ground. And interestingly, if you look at his form, if you just take his form at 6 furlongs over the last sort of couple of seasons, he's had 3 runs, one of which was in the silver or bronze one last year, the one that Snazzy Jazzy won. I think it was the bronze. No, it was the silver. Just had a look. Was the silver. So ran in this last year on heavy ground. Finished 7th that day. Got beat 5 lengths. Not sure heavy ground is what he wants. So that was a reasonable effort. And if you have a look back at his sort of mid-season form at Haydock and York over 6 furlong on good to firm ground, when he won by half a length, and then in a big field at York, and he just got touched off a neck by Paddy Power, admittedly off sort of marks in the mid-70s, and he's high 80s now. And it's the fact that he is towards the top end of his mark now would normally worry you, but Angus Villiers is on tomorrow, and he's going to take £7 off. And I think that's a really useful 7 to take off. He's drawn stall 9. So for a 7 furlong horse, we can expect to see him sort of coming through late. And with that, I'm pleased to say that he's got Lincoln Park in stall 7 and Hyperfocus in stall 11, both sort of two stalls either side of him, both of whom like to make the pace. So he's going to get a toe into the race as well. So all of which sort of added up. As I say, he ran well at Haydock last time we saw him, and he got beaten under 2 lengths. All of which sort of added up together, to me, makes him around about a sort of 16, 20 to 1 chance, not 33s, with all the extra places that we're getting. I like Presidential. I can see him at worst getting a place return, and if it does fall right, I think we've got half a chance of copping the lot here at 33s. I really do like his chance. And I've already had a couple of each way bets on him as the afternoon's progressed, and I may well throw a bit more on him if the rest of the afternoon goes well. So Presidential and Music are my 2 in the Silver Cup, and then we've got the Gold at 3:50 an hour 10 later. And there's a lot. The more I looked at this race, the more you sort of realise how badly handicapped most of these are. I sort of looked at Major Jumbo, stepping back down from Group Company. He's been pretty highly tried, but, the last time he won a handicap, I think it was about £6 or £7 lower. So 108 tomorrow, he's got plenty on his plate. Yeah, I know he's a class act here, but the more you sort of look through, the more you get the fact that Buffer Zone is a 5 to 1 chance at the moment. If this went off 7 to 2, 3 to 1 tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised, because you are at least backing a horse that has still got a bit of potential about him. He's only 4. He comes here off the back of that win at the Curragh last week when he looked well in front of his mark. He's only got a £5 penalty for that to carry. It really isn't hard to see why he's favourite and he is the price he is. They could even get stuck into, say, the 5 to 1. They could even get stuck into this. And if he went off a 7 to 2, 3 to 1 chance, it wouldn't surprise me. Do I want to back him at 5s? Well, having made the case he could go off at 3, I wouldn't put you off. He isn't my sort of price. But as I say, having said that, the more I went through this race, I kept looking and looking, and you've just got horses now that are right at the top end of their marks. I think most of them. The case for George Bowen is there off a mark in 96. He's now starting to come down after being too high in the handicap, but a couple of awful runs really to put behind him at Goodwood and Ripon, and I'm struggling to sort of totally make the case. So the one I ended up going with, and it's the only one really that I like at this stage, again at a big price, and I don't see why it's the price he is Embor, right down the bottom of Richard Hannon's. It's drawn stall 16 up the middle, and as I say, I think that's absolutely fine. You look at Embor's form this season, he's got 1 bad run against his name. He's just got 1 blot against his name, that coming in Stewards Cup at Goodwood, which, fine, you can forgive any horse a bad one in that. you look at what he's done apart from that, you know, he's 4 runs that surround that bad run. At Windsor, he finished a length behind Show Stealer in one of their finals, one of their sprint finals, a really competitive race. That was a good run. Then he got beaten a nose by Green Power at Goodwood. Possibly a shade unlucky, another half stride he'd have got there. Then he's finished a length behind Just Another Bottle at Sandown, finished 3rd to that one. And he's better off at the weights with Just Another Bottle today. Just Another Bottle's about a 16 chance, Ember's 25, so I don't see why he should be a bigger price on that form. And then at Doncaster last week in the Portland, finished a very close up 6, got beaten a length and a half, doing his best work again at the finish over 5.5. He's got the extra half furlong here. I don't see why he's the price he is. He just looks too big a price for a horse that handles all conditions. 6 furlongs is fine, and he's generally very, very consistent. So again, he's another one of these. He might be at the top end of his mark. I mean, he's been off 95, 96, been hovering around that for most of the season. He can't quite get his head in front, but on saying that, he only just got touched off at Goodwood off 95. So perhaps he is capable of winning off of this. It's that sort of a race, really. I was just looking for something that was, you know, more consistent than more and more of them, and would probably run its race. And there's only really him and, to a lesser extent, Summerhand, who looks, you know, another one that's sort of sure to run its race. But again, I mean, he hasn't been able to win off 100. He's off 102 tomorrow, thanks to that latest effort behind the rapidly improving Dakota Gold at Ripon. It's that sort of a race. Something will come good tomorrow, and bookmakers will be licking their lips at taking the front ones on here, perhaps with the exception of Buffers on, because they know they can probably get them beat. So I'd say at the moment, just the one in the race for me in there. I just think Embor is probably the one. So I'm going to end up playing a couple of each way doubles with the 2 in the Silver Cup, I think, with him, and hopefully if we can get them both in the frame, should get a few quid back. The only other one at this stage that made any sort of appeal whatsoever was over at Newmarket. Newmarket's card tomorrow is littered with small fields. It's that sort of time of the season when, you know, I think a lot of horses are waiting for the softer ground, which we normally tend to get around about now, and it's not happening. It's still sort of pretty quick everywhere. The Cesarewitch trial over 2 mile 2. Be interesting to see how they bet with this. At the moment, we've got 8 runners, and if we've got 8, then I might well have an each way bet here, because a few of these only make limited appeal at the trip, or they're out of form, or they're badly handicapped. You know, now the obvious one is Land of Oz, who's an improving 3-year-old, and there's a 3-year-old at this time of the year over 2 mile 2 is getting loads of weight as an allowance. But at some point that winning run's going to come to an end, and he's got to defy a new high mark tomorrow. 87 he's off tomorrow, Land of Oz. It will come to an end at some point. Graceful Lady is obvious. She will stay the trip, won't mind the ground, comes here in decent nick after an easy win over 2 mile here in August, and then just got touched off in a messy 3-horse race at Chepstow. I think she's the obvious one in the race, Graceful Lady. But if they start going 20 to 1 and bigger about Aircraft Carrier, I might have a little bit each on Aircraft Carrier, I think. I think the problem with Aircraft Carrier is he's just been too high in the handicap for a while. He made hay on the all-weather towards the back end of last year and beginning of this year, won 3 on the bounce, showing that he stayed 2 mile really well. And then he just got whacked up in the handicap, and he's been tried quite highly. Threw him in against Stradivarius on one occasion, unsurprisingly was absolutely tailed off. Tried him at Newcastle in the Northumberland Plate, again well beaten there. His mark's starting to come down, and it wasn't a bad effort at Newmarket last time. It was over 1.6 miles, but I think it's a little bit too, it's just a little bit on the short side for him. They swapped the visor back for cheap pieces, which I think helped the case, definitely helped his cause a bit. He ran better. He's finished 6 of 7, which doesn't sound great, but he only got beaten 4 lengths. And the race is working out all right. The right 2 finished first, second there, Sarug and the Max We Can. They were the form horses going into the race, and they finished first and second. So the form looks solid. The Max We Can's gone on and won since. So has the 4th, Byron Flyer. So the form of that race is looking decent already. Handicap has dropped him another £3, down to a mark of 92 now. And I think this is a mark he can start doing a bit of damage off. He has got to show that he stays 2 mile 2. That is a question mark. But as I say, it will all be factored into the price. I'm hoping we get 20 to 1 plus about him. If we do, I'm just hoping that Aircraft Carrier now is just starting to find his late season form, and that he can carry that on tomorrow, because I think 2-2 should suit him. I say it is a question mark, but he definitely gets 2, and he's been strong at the end of 2 miles, so there's every chance he'll get 2 mile 2. I just think he might represent a bit of each way value in a race that there are question marks about quite a few of them. But I do need that. I do need the dead 8 to stand up. Otherwise, it's going to be a small win bet only, I think, for me. Right, so there we go. That's my thoughts on tomorrow. My best bet, hopefully presidential, he says. Let's try and get a nice 33-1 winner on the board. Best of all, guys. It's just come up to 3 o'clock anyway, so enjoy the rest of your Fridays, and I'll be back doing the Daily Punt next week. Thank you.